Good morning on this 27th day of August, and welcome to the Thoughts and Scriptures and Ideas of the Daily Post for today. We go to Psalm 84 and verse 12 for the opening scripture. O Lord of hosts, blessed is the man that trusteth in thee. If you're reading the Bible in a year, today we need to move on through Psalms 120, 121 and 122 and 1 Corinthians chapter 9. The thoughts of the day. Whatever you do may seem insignificant, but it is most important that you do it. Growing old is mandatory. Growing up is optional. With God, even when nothing is happening, something is happening. Wise thoughts. The motivational idea for today: it is noble to be good. It is still nobler to teach others to be good and less trouble. On this day, in 1784, on this day, the first British balloon ascent was made by James Tytler at Edinburgh. In 1859, on this day, the world's first commercial productive oil well was drilled at Titusville in Pennsylvania by Edwin Drake. And in 1883, on this day, Krakatoa volcano, west of Java in Indonesia, erupted with a force of 1,300 megatons, killing approximately 40,000 people, and incidentally creating a whole new island. In 1912, the story of Tarzan of the Apes, written by Edgar Rice Burroughs, first went into print as a serial in a magazine on this day. And in 1913, on this day, Swedish engineer Gideon Sundback of Hoboken applied to patent an all-purpose zipper. What a good product that was. In 1939, in Germany, a jet-propelled aircraft, the Hinkel 178, made its first flight at Marienhe in North Germany. In 1962, on this day, US spacecraft Mariner 2 was launched on a voyage to the planet Venus. In 2003, on this day, the world's biggest battery was plugged in. The battery, which takes up about 2,000 square meters of space and weighs about 1,300 tons, was set up to provide emergency electricity to the residents of Fairbanks in Alaska for about 7 minutes. In 2012, the first interplanetary human voice recording was broadcast from the Mars rover Curiosity spacecraft. Personal story of the day. Interesting choice. God's love in our lives will always bring unity among believers. It's when we develop an independent attitude that we become critical, unfaithful, and harmful to the church. Have you ever noticed that the more secure a person is in their faith, the more they demonstrate love and patience to those who don't agree? It's similar to the difference between thoroughbred horses and donkeys. Under attack, thoroughbred horses will stand in a circle facing each other and kick out at the enemy with their back legs. Donkeys, however, will do just the opposite. They circle up, but they face the enemy and end up kicking each other. Perhaps it's because we have too many freedoms and not enough duties. Perhaps it's because we don't understand that the Lord has called us to help build the church. Or maybe we are expecting the church to be a place of entertainment with the best music money can buy. However, this is God's will towards our behaviour, as we read in Ephesians chapter 4 and verses 2 to 6. With all lowliness and meekness, with long-suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavouring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all, and through all, and in you all. When it comes to your church, are you a thoroughbred or a donkey? Think about that one. The devotional thoughts of the day. The first, there is a right time. The scripture from Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 1, with further references from Ecclesiastes chapter 8. A man's wisdom maketh his faith to shine, and the boldness of his face shall be changed. Eliot Ness, the well-known lawman who brought Al Capone to justice, never enjoyed financial success. Even as his crime-fighting career continued after such a remarkable achievement, he and his family had to settle for common means. How humbling it must have been to see the criminals he chased enjoying riches beyond his wildest dreams. And he died before his one chance to financially succeed, the publication of his book, The Untouchables. King Solomon, through all his exposure to foreign rulers, must have seen many cases of wicked, powerful men enjoying prolonged reign over their kingdoms. And with an, quote, under the sun, unquote, mentality, it's hard to see the value of living righteously when wicked men are rewarded with prosperity. Today's verses observe that justice isn't always carried out when we might think it's necessary. See verses 11 and 12. But the beginning and the ending of today's verses offer an insightful look into wisdom. Verses 1 and 17 both point to the fact that even a wise man can't explain everything about life, but his wisdom still allows him a positive outlook. Even if he disagrees with the king, a wise man can still act appropriately with respect and obediency. See verse 26. But not even the king has ultimate power. In verse 8 we read that death is the greatest equalizer that brings an end to a wicked man's glory days, in verse 10. Even if the wickedness continues for years, life will be far more enjoyable for a man who does good. See verses 11, 12 and 13. But under the sun thinking strikes again. The undeniable fact remains that sometimes the good suffer, while the wicked revel in pleasure. Verse 14. So for the fifth time in Ecclesiastes, we're told that nothing is better than to eat, drink and be merry. See verse 15. It's almost as if to say, enjoy it now because I can't make sense of life beyond that. No one can comprehend life, suggested in verse 17. That's a lesson in humility for anyone who claims to have an answer for everything. Life isn't always so easy to understand. Some mysteries go beyond our capacity for reason. Expanding our horizons beyond this life allows us to see the bright light of Christ's work in our lives and our world. Have you ever been under the authority of someone with whom you disagreed? If not a king, perhaps a boss or even a church leader. Verses 2 to 6 are quite valuable for anyone in such a situation. When a person in authority has the power to make decisions with or without your approval, it's best to seek the proper time and procedure for any action you might take instead of making a rash, emotional decision. Ask God to show you the appropriate course of action with a prayer for wisdom today. Again, carefully think through those things and take to heart the lessons that come. The second thought for the day, famished land. The scripture from 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. When we think of a famine, we think about not enough food to eat or food supplies cut off. Famines have been present throughout our history. People have literally starved to death. You might remember the Bible story of the famine in Canaan. Abraham, the faithful, escaped to Egypt. He lost his faith in God, and he encouraged Sarai to pose as his sister instead of his wife. He gave her to Pharaoh so that his life would be saved. Forget God. Forget the one who had promised him that he would be the father of many nations, affording him many blessings materially and spiritually. If God's chosen servant can momentarily lose his faith, how much easier is it for someone with little faith to be overcome? There is a famine of the word in our land. Most people probably have one or more Bibles in their houses. Some are displayed, some are not. But how many of those Bibles have the telltale marks of being used? How many have pages that are torn and marked from a long use? How many have the backs coming off because they've been subjected to hands that will flip pages, eyes that will read, and minds that will ask God to enlighten them to their meanings? Many people never open the Bible. They have it for show. Many believe in the Bible, yet they never open it to find out what it is that they believe. They never study the message beyond the Sunday meetings. Today, more than any other, we need to get out those Bibles and put them to use. We need to study the Word to find out what God is saying to us today. What does He have for you as an individual that you have not yet discovered? In times of trials, He has the answers. In times of tragedy, His Word has healing. His Word should be our guide for each facet of life, be it personal, professional, or spiritual. Again, wise words to contemplate as we go through this day and beyond. The facts of the day. Great Britain was the first country to issue postage stamps. Hence, the postage stamps of Britain are the only stamps in the world that do not bear the name of the country of origin. Fingernails grow nearly 4 times faster than toenails. Work that into a conversation. Closing thought for the day. You can't be thankful if you don't know what you have. Thank you for being with us today. We do hope that you will find help, guidance and insight in the thoughts and scriptures and ideas from today, and we hope you'll join us again tomorrow for some more. In the meantime, may the Lord bless your day. Bye for now.